My wife's ex sent me videos before we were married, but I forgot about them. I forgive her. He showed me another video of them arguing after she became pregnant in France. Sorry in advance. I'll attempt to recount this long narrative clearly and thoroughly. Her ex-boyfriend created my wife, F32, and myself, M27, relationship issues, which I think are still harming us. To clarify, we met while studying overseas and working part-time at the same diner. She's French and I'm Australian. After a few shifts, we became friends and started dating. She was 24 and I was 19. We dated for 3 years before I returned home. Our marriage followed 2 years of cohabitation. The issue started after my fiancé and I were engaged. We made the proper social media posts to announce our great news. I received a message request from an unknown Instagram account a week later. As my wife and the individual were following one another, I figured it was an old school acquaintance and accepted the request. I had over 100 texts from my wife's family and friends. I'd never met welcomed us. Earlier, therefore, I expected the same message request. Instead of good luck and a bio. After receiving many screenshots of French language messenger discussions, I was instructed to study them to check on my fiancé. Even though something wasn't right, I figured this individual was a family member or acquaintance of my wife with poor English. I translated the photos to respond. Because I could read them as two-way conversations, I was innocent and thought they were adorable. Stories concerning sexual encounters were discussed. The gender. They discussed their partners' actions, and how Asian guys are worse than white males. I'm Asian. Asking who sent the texts was my response. They stated it was my new SLT wife and supplied 3 sex films. I was stunned and assumed she cheated on me. After sitting there and trying to figure out what occurred, I viewed the movies to confirm it was my wife. After my wife went to bed, I watched the films since I didn't think my 5-year-old wife could do that. However, discovering that all the movies were of her was devastating. Almost all 3 movies included that person. It was different in the third. Guy. To say I was angry is an insult. The lady I intended to marry had fucked 2 other men. The most distressing and heartbreaking things for me were witnessing her act in ways she never did with me and do sexual things with other people that I wanted to do but she refused to do with me, even after 5 years of dating and a proposal. I approached her since I thought she cheated on me with multiple men. Tell me why she did it. I woke her up at 6 a.m. and showed her everything sent to me because I no longer had to remain up all night. I asked her to elaborate what that meant. She immediately hyperventilated and cried. She begged me not to leave her and apologized again. Approximately 10 minutes passed. After I calmed her down, she said she had never cheated on me and that she had no clue these movies existed until we met. She said the texts were between her and her best buddy and covered everything in their life. She claimed the notes seemed like someone else wrote them because they chatted so long ago. She said, again, that the messages she sent made her feel awful and guilty. Every time she spoke or did it, she felt guilty. I saw her and her best friend's conversation logs to verify she wasn't cheating. She saw the identical sections of the chats in their mails and realized they transpired long before we met. I also discovered that the Instagram post sender was her high school crush from France. His emotional and mental control looked strong while they were together. To win his love and appreciation, she would do anything he desired. She denied receiving the photos and sex recordings he didn't take. We concluded he hacked her account. From when the movie's 2 Korean boyfriends were short-term. She stated she moved abroad initially. Delighted would be an understatement. But looking at my wife repulsed me. After that I pretended everything was okay, but I couldn't get over what I saw. That woman was different from the last. Even though body count shouldn't matter, reading her texts detailing how many guys she slept with worried me. I didn't mind when we informed each other our body counts. I would have accepted any amount if it was true. However, I now know she lied about her number of partners. Half of those men were buddies. It tears my heart. I confessed when she became upset at me for not wanting sex. She cried again and requested the wedding be cancelled. I recommended we think about it but not do anything yet since I felt my symptoms were temporary and would soon improve. I didn't want my relatives and friends to ask me why we weren't getting married and for me to explain. We agreed to go to therapy to improve our relationship and marry on our scheduled date before that nonsense happened. We benefited from couples therapy. Our sessions were great because we could chat about our feelings and thoughts. Counselor would explain it well. After 10 appointments, we were given a list of things we could do jointly to mend our relationship, and I was referred to a psychologist for some helpful private sessions. Things were mostly back to normal after the texts, but I never trusted my wife again. We married because I didn't let my wife's history affect my feelings for her, and because breaking up would imply her ex-boyfriend had achieved his purpose. After a year of marriage, my wife arranged a vacation to France to see family and friends. Originally, I wanted to go with her, but unfortunately, I had been promoted after a month at my new work. While on vacation, Her ex sent me another Instagram message saying, she only likes you and another sext. Soon I believed it was another old movie stolen and stopped him. I meant to show my wife what he sent, but I forgot. Present moment. We've been married almost 2 years and are getting married shortly. People speculated about her due date and conception day. I mentally calculated and observed a discrepancy while listening. She may have become pregnant while she visited her relatives in France. I stayed silent and told myself I must have been doing the arithmetic wrong because I've never been good at it. But I remembered what her ex texted me and knew something was amiss. My concerns took over, and I viewed the video he sent me to find out when it was recorded. I felt awful since I knew the video had to have been made when we were together, because I saw a scar on her crotch from waxing while on vacation. The more I think about it, the more I've kept my secrets from her. I won't get family or friend aid or therapy. Fewer people knowing is better. Knowing my wife is having someone else's child would make me feel horrible. I won't decide until the kid is born and I know it's mine. Many thanks to anyone who read my entire work. Not being able to tell anyone what I was going through drove me mad. Update: timing issues have been raised. In September 2022 we married. She visited France for 5 weeks in mid-December 2023. The baby is due late September. Update 1: I want to thank everyone who left a note, both those who helped and those who criticized my actions and thoughts. Reading other perspectives on my circumstance helped me see things more clearly and fairly. I'm unsure how to compose this report after receiving a lot of fresh information. I feel like someone ripped the rug out from under me, and I don't know what to do. Many of you advised me to talk to my wife about the new video, and several of you suggested I check the EXIF data to see when it was created. Because everyone told me, I did both. I checked the information's creation date first. Photographed at 1:18 a.m. on January 1st, 2024. I received it January 6th, 2024. Even though the video appeared fresh, I didn't take the new information seriously because data is simple to change. I sat her on the couch and informed her about her movie after reviewing the facts. I prepared for the discussion with a list of things to speak with my therapist. I tried not to accuse her or seem accusatory. I was ready for her to resent me for not telling her sooner. My therapist advised me to tell her the news and put her back in charge by showing her the tape, letting her view it, and then deleting it in front of her when she was ready. I told her I obtained another sex tape from her ex and when. That's when I explained why I didn't inform her immediately or after her vacation. I told her what was happening and offered the footage. She accepted, so I gave her my phone. Since she started viewing the movie almost immediately, I couldn't leave the room to let her watch it alone. The video's loudness made me get up and wander to another room. She grabbed my pant leg and apologized profusely. Since this happened before we met, I told her I wasn't sorry and should apologize for suppressing it. She asked me why I informed her now, and I said I was anxious about the due date and couldn't understand it. It was then she lost it. She grabbed my hand and repeatedly apologized and said she was inebriated and wasn't aware. I immediately understood what she meant by talking again and over. My heart fell. If she didn't tell me what occurred, I'd leave. She cheated on me in France with her ex-boyfriend, who gave me the tapes and images. They kissed after getting to know one other at a New Year's Eve celebration. They come from a little central French town. A few thousand people. After she returned to her village, they met in the grocery store a few days later. Because they attended the same kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high school, my wife and her ex-boyfriend met at a New Year's Eve party. She also said her ex had admitted to getting into her Facebook account to watch the sex films she created and distributed to her ex-boyfriends. But labeling his work hacking seems high-tech. He hacked into all her accounts using her old passwords from high school because she hadn't updated them. So foolish. The woman begged me not to divorce and attempted to negotiate. She promised to cheat on me no more and be the finest wife ever, allowing me sex any lady. She even offered sex. My stay was contingent on her giving me her phone so I could read her texts and getting a DNA test. She immediately consented to the DNA test, but was apprehensive to give up her phone. Finally, she conceded. Her phone showed additional evidence of her New Year's Day infidelity. Her period tracker app showed she cheated on me previously. She tracks her cycles and sex life using the app. I only had to check when I wasn't in her nation to see whether she had sex. She was adept at tracking her sexual activities, which was problematic. After deciding my opinion on the relationship, I departed, currently at a hotel, but shortly to move. I've been attempting to rent my flat. My lawyer and wife agreed that I should attend treatment to pursue a divorce in October. We agreed to take the DNA test after the baby is born, and I booked my in-laws' flights to Australia early to care for their daughter. Change 2. My previous post was a long ago. Over the past month, I've received several messages concerning my life and the DNA test findings. Much has changed since my previous article, notably where I reside with my wife. Being the father makes me proud. I was in the hospital birthing room with my wife when my kid was delivered. I spent 5 days with her in the maternity ward. Although he was born to me, I was confident the test would prove his identity. His disdain of me has grown since I was a baby. Results proving the two were connected arrived a week after the examinations. Before our baby was born, my wife and I lived apart, and only spoke when she texted me goodnight. I visited my son daily to feed and change him even though we lived away. We didn't see each other much. We barely spoke weekly when we underwent marriage therapy to obtain a divorce. 2 separate clinics doctors tried to convince me I was insane for wanting a divorce from my adulterous wife. One even said I shouldn't expect monogamous marriages today. Initial treatment meetings at the first clinic were routine. We generally talk about how we feel, with the psychologist speaking only when needed. If the treatment session had gone as planned, it would have been okay, but I started looking for other psychologists when she suggested letting others in the bedroom for mutual understanding. For 2 sessions, the second doctor tried to convince me that it's usual for married people to have sex with unmarried people, and that it would be selfish of me to raise the kid without a father, even if it's not mine. Before getting the DNA test results home, we performed this. Marriage therapy was a waste of time, I realized then. My divorce would be halted if my wife signed a postnuptial agreement. I presented it to her, and she signed it immediately. I'll wait a year before divorcing, no boundaries or foolish marriage treatment. And my money will be relatively safe. My wife and I live together again, but we sleep in separate rooms. I merely moved back in to make it simpler to care my son when my wife and her parents needed a vacation. After almost a month with my baby, I decided to assist raise him. Even if talking to his mother is awkward, I think it's my obligation as his father to provide him the greatest life. How it will happen after the breakup, and how it will influence his mental and emotional maturation, is my question. Parents who can raise their kids this way must exist. How do you manage it? I appreciate the concern for my love life. But nothing is happening. Since my wife cheated, I haven't considered dating or sex. Leaving my hubby is still my plan. It won't be long before the courts allow me divorce without marital therapy. I also had my wife sign a post-nuptial agreement, so I may keep most of my assets when we split. Comments where OP replied, "Hi, my name is 025019. Has she kept in touch with the AP since you found out about the affair?" She said she stopped communicating to anyone. I don't care anymore, the harm is done. He can take her. Happy Basics 35. Or is it a little issue with your son? Does she attempt to talk at home? She always makes attempts to talk to me. She also approached me twice,